Good morning students and welcome back to Alchemy online classes. Student, in our previous class we learned about the formation of the Indian National Congress. We learned that the first session of the Indian National Congress was held in Bombay on 28 December 1885. Some of the major leaders of the Congress were Dadabhai Naorji, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bahadur Din Tayyabji, Feroz Shah Mehta, Surendranath Banerjee and Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Now student, open page number 18 and read I Wish I Knew session. Lala Rajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal were popularly known as Lal Bal Pal. People were knowing them by the name Lal Bal Pal because these three were freedom fighters and people were watching them together in earlier days. Now we'll learn about Partition of Bengal. Why the Partition of Bengal took place and what happened with the Partition of Bengal, that we will see now. As time passed, the Indian National Congress received tremendously support from the Indians. As a result, the British adopted a divide and rule policy. The British government in 1905 divided into two parts, for the Muslim and the other for the Hindus. This partition angered the leaders of the Indian National Congress and resulted in postage. This postage was so strong that the British were forced to withdraw the partition in 1911. When Indian National Congress was started working and people were supporting them for freedom of India, so then British were worried about their rule in India. So what they had done, from this we can see that Britishers were feared that if all Indians will be united, so they have to leave India, and because of that they tried divide and rule policy here also, and they divided India, mainly Bengal, in two parts. First they divided India into two parts, one for Indians and one for Muslims. Later the Bengali people were not supported this partition. People of Bengal were against of this partition, so they denied for that partition. So then also they applied the partition in Bengal also. They divided Bengal into two parts, one for Indians and one for Muslims. But because of the strong opposition of Indians, they have to withdraw that decision. People refused that decision of partition, and because of strong refusal, they have to took that decision back. So this was the story of the Partition of Bengal. Because Britishers want the main strong hold on India. That is what they are dividing people in Hindus and Muslims. Earlier, all are living with brotherhood and unity. But Britishers found some people who are ready to divide them into Hindus and Muslims, and they were dividing them according to that. But some Indian National Congress and some other people who completely against it, they denied to do that, and because of that the partition of the Bengal were not took place. Now we'll see a short video on the partition of the Bengal, and later we will discuss on it.
The Partition of Bengal. The feeling of unrest and urge for freedom by the Indians was noticed by the British. They feared that if the Indians became united, they would be forced to leave India. One of the ways in which they could prevent the Indians from uniting was by dividing them on the basis of religion. The feeling of nationalism was the strongest in Bengal. So in 1905, the British decided to divide Bengal into two parts, one for the Hindus and the other for the Muslims. People from all over India opposed this decision. The British could not face this opposition. They had to stop the partition of Bengal.
So student, now you are clear regarding partition of Bengal, that feeling of nationalism was strong in Bengal. Because of that feeling, Britishers were worried about Bengal partition, and in 1905 they tried to divide Bengal into two parts, one for Muslims and another one for Indians. But because of the strong opposition, they were not able to do that. So today we learn about the partition of the Bengal. We have learned that how the Indian National Congress were united other Indians also, and because of that Britishers were worried about their king rule in India, and they are trying to divide India into two parts, one for Muslims and one for Hindus. And because of the Indian National Congress and other freedom fighters, they were not able to do that, and they have to took their decision back. So this was the story of partition of the India. Now I am giving you three questions. Note down that question. You have to complete that question, and later we will discuss on it. My first question is, what was the impact of the partition of Bengal on the India? I am repeating it again. What was the impact of the partition of Bengal on the India? My second question is, how did the Indians react to the partition? How did the Indians react to the partition? And my third question is, explain the result of the partition of Bengal. Explain the result of the partition of Bengal. And with that you have to complete the checkpoint 2. In our next class we will discuss more on it, and we'll learn more our struggle for freedom.